What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all having an amazing day. Now, in today's Entitled Parents story, an entitled Karen who is stopped at a traffic light gets annoyed at OP for the sound of their motorbike. Seriously, she says it's too loud, it's annoying her dog in the car. A motorbike. Mental. Let's get into the story. Entitled Karen tries to get me to turn off my motorcycle while waiting behind her car at traffic lights. So, this happened a few hours ago, and I'm still like, what the F? I, a 30-year-old woman, was riding my motorcycle. It's a Harley Davidson FXDR 1900cc. For those who don't know bikes, Google an image and think loud. It's a Harley, that's how they do. I mean, look on the screen right now, it's a beauty of a bike. So I was riding to my parents' house and I pulled up at a set of traffic lights behind some cars. The car in front of me was a wagon, and I noticed it because there was a big, cute Alsatian sticking its head out of the front window. When I pulled up behind her, the dog noticed me. It was unsecured in the car and was going from front seat to back seat, which, by the way, is illegal. Dogs must be secured at all times, via a harness, at least. She even had a dog cage separator behind the rear seats, so you can put the dog in the boot and it can't get into the main part of the car. But for some reason, this massive dog was allowed to roam. Anyway, I'm sitting, waiting on my bike for the light to change, simply idling, not revving the engine at all. My bike even shuts down to one piston when it's still, to save fuel consumption, thus making the bike go quieter. I admit, it's a Harley, so it's still loud, but the exhaust is legal. I'm well within legal limits. This Karen gets out of her car at the lights and starts yelling at me to turn my bike off because it's making her dog move around too much. I just shrugged my shoulders and motioned I wouldn't be doing that. She then started walking away from her car towards me, and I'm like, what the heck is this crazy female dog doing, if you pardon the pun? She kept yelling that my bike was too loud and to turn it off or she's gonna call the police. What she hadn't noticed was the light go green. So, as she approached me, I checked for traffic and just rode around her car and through the lights, while the cars behind me started honking, because of course, she was blocking the traffic. Like, I can't help my bike being loud. It's not obnoxiously so. I don't rev it to make it louder. It's just what a high-powered bike sounds like. She should have secured her animal. So if it is spooked for any reason, it's not going to cause an accident. I mean, for God's sake, does she yell at semi-trucks too? I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? The Karen gets annoyed at you for making a noise on your motorbike, gets out of her car, coming all like, you know what, I'm going to F you up. But then the light goes green. You're on your way. She, technically, I guess, is doing something illegal at that point, or at least against the driving laws, because you can't stop at a green light. Surely that's illegal, right? Car enthusiasts, let me know down below. So ultimately, she was the one that was doing stuff that was against the law. You obviously were fine. You just have a nice bike. Sorry, by the way, having a nice bike is a problem, according to this Karen. Crazy. And yeah, actually, no, I've just clocked. Not only was she breaking the law by not moving at a green light, she also didn't have her dog shut up properly. Any more laws you want to break today, Karen? Didn't think so. Let's move on. Now for our second story. Idiot roommate doesn't respect my religion and trashes my things. Hello Reddit. It's been a while since I posted, but I'm back with something juicier than ever. This story is from when I'd gone to uni, and it makes me puff smoke out of my ears and nose. Anyways, hope you enjoy. So for some background, the other day I went shopping for some shoes. I heard about a new drop at Foot Locker, so being the sneakerhead I am, I went. Now, instead of buying the pair of shoes I'd originally wanted, I found a pair of shoes that I had when I'd gone to uni. A pair of Jordan 11s. This reminded me of the horrible roommate that I had to live with. So, when I'd finished high school, I had a huge knack for drawing and maths. The best profession which included these things was of course architecture. I talked to my parents about it and they were ecstatic. So, we looked for a good university and what my housing arrangements could be. I ended up going to a university which was about 2 hours away from where my parents and I lived, which was really lucky. I found an apartment which I would be sharing with 3 other dudes, and I moved out. I brought a couple of things with me. However, now this is a good time to mention, I was Muslim and proud. The place I was going to be living at was with 3 other white guys, so I knew I had to be careful. Being Muslim, it is strictly forbidden to eat anything that wasn't halal. Now, halal food is a majority of things. Vegetables, fish, spices, etc. But the one thing that you cannot have is pork or meat that hasn't been prepared in a halal way. So, a couple of the things I brought with me were some dishes, cutlery, and a frying pan. This is because if a surface has been touched by something not halal, haram, it is not ethical to eat from. So I made sure to do this, or rather my mum did. I also brought clothes, shoes and devices. Love a little honesty at the end there, very similar to me, not gonna lie. When I moved in with the 3 other dudes, they were so amazing and understanding. I can't stress how nice they were. They helped me set up, and they understood everything I told them. So we went along with studying, and the only minor issue any of us had was how there was a spare room, but we couldn't use it. This was in case someone else wanted to move in. We had made agreements on who cooked food on what days. I would make my own food every day because I didn't feel comfortable eating their stuff, but I cooked for everyone when it came around to my turn. Because 1, they loved my food, my mum's recipes, and 2, it would be extremely petty not to. Now that I've told you all of the necessary things, time for the entitled bits. One day, our landlord calls to tell us that a new person would be moving in with us, and that he would live in the spare room. A couple of us had started putting stuff in there, as our rooms were quite small, so we had to move it out. He came the next day with his parents to check out the apartment. Words can't describe how stuck up he was. He came in with his nose high and his mum behind him. They had the "I'm better than you" look and glared us down. It was a sickening sight. The very first thing he did was tell us how he wanted things to be, which I mean, fair enough, but then it started getting out of hand. He said the bathroom was his from 8 to 9 so he could get ready for school. He said he didn't want us to cook anything with lamb because he didn't like it. He thought he also had the power to ban spices and a whole bunch of other things. I could see the look on everyone's face, like, is this guy okay? The best bit was, he was dead serious. He left thinking he had all the power and was gonna move in next week. After they left, me and my friends started bawling our heads off at how stuck up he was and how he expected us to do all that. The dreaded day came when he moved in. We told him some of our requirements for him, and he blew off. How could we expect for him to cook dinner once a week and that he couldn't have the bathroom all to himself? He was such a little idiot. I just told him if he thought our rules were bad, he could just move out. The real kicker though came when I told him I was Muslim. I can't remember all the slurs that were tossed at me for the next few months, but they included terrorist, bomber, how I was ruining the world, and how he always called me different things like Arab, Afghani, and Iraqi. I'm not sure he used my real name once. The worst bit was he decided to break every rule possible that I had told him. A couple of weeks had passed and his petty acts kept up. He would always run to the bathroom when I had to go, and he would leave it filthy for me. Urine all over the seat, toilet paper everywhere, and just make it unusable. We complained about him so much, but the landlord wouldn't do anything. All of this stuff was manageable to a certain extent, but he decided to use my not speaking up against me. One morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon. No surprise, my roommates love it, and I didn't mind. I went into the kitchen to make myself some breakfast when I realized who was cooking. The entitled little turd. This was the first time I'd even seen him cooking. I walk over to grab a bowl for cereal when I realize what he was cooking with. My frying pan. I freak out. I grab him by the arm and I pull him away. "What the heck are you doing?" I scream. "Making breakfast," he said, with the biggest poop-eating grin imaginable. I felt like grabbing the saucepan and hitting him over the head with it. I take the saucepan and throw it into the sink, with bacon flying everywhere. He looks at me with a smile and just walks off. I go into my room and just sit there. I call the landlord and report him, but he says he's only been there for 3 weeks and didn't know. I just hang up. Sorry, I've got to interject here. That is so poor from the landlord, my god. A couple days pass and I'm still fuming. He did his petty toilet peeing act again as a cherry on top, but I wasn't having it. When he got out, I grabbed his shirt and threw him at the wall. I yelled at him to do it again and see what happened. He just laughed at me, saying that I was too scared to do it and that I didn't have the guts. To be fair, I really didn't, but I wanted him to know that I just wasn't having it. His next act became stealing my clothes. I would walk into the living room to realize that he was wearing one of my shirts or hoodies or shoes. I would make him take them off, but I didn't even feel like taking them back. I warned him the next time he did it, he'd be sorry, but he laughed again and said, what would I do? The tension between us only grew, and my roommates started getting worried because the next small petty thing he did, I would make sure ended up with him in hospital. A few months passed without incidents, but he still sometimes slipped on my clothes as mine were nearly all name brand, but he would take them off instantly when he saw me. He wore quite old, what you would call cheap clothes. There's nothing wrong with him wanting to wear something expensive, and I let my other roommates do it all the time, but I had zero tolerance for this butthole by this point, and he knew it. The final straw happened when he had a date with this girl. She was quite pretty, and it was so obvious he had zero chances with her. He left at around 3 that day, but I still had some classes, so I wasn't there when he left. He came back at 7, pretty happy, and I really couldn't care. He walked in and took his clothes off and tried to go into my room. I instantly saw this, and I walked in behind him. He was trying to put my shoes back. He had scratched up my Jordan 11s. I absolutely freaked out. He had creased them beyond repair, there were scratches, and they were muddy. What the F have you done? I screamed. They're only a pair of shoes, he laughed, looking at me and throwing them at my feet. I swung. I know I shouldn't have hit him, it was only a pair of shoes. But what he had done to me for the past year was too much. I hit him square in the face, knocking him to the floor. We'd walked into the living room arguing, and everyone saw. He dropped to the floor, bleeding from his mouth. My roommates were in shock, and my knuckles hurt from how hard I hit him. I called the police myself, explaining just what happened. A lot of stuff then went down, and I got a fine and 100 hours of community service. I actually ended up knocking 2 of his teeth out and fracturing his jaw. I didn't receive a harsh sentence though, because it was aggravated. He was charged with destruction of property for my $170 shoes and the tens of shirts he spilled stuff on, which were anywhere from $30 to $50. But it doesn't end there. The girl he had the date with came out and said he had forcefully kissed her, and he got charged with that as well. His mother said a bunch of straight messed up things about her and how she was lying, and how her son would never do that. He got 2 years in jail though, as well as a couple hours of community service. This was a long one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Moral of the story, never crease another man's J's. I mean, that's literally got nothing to do with the story really, but hey, good moral nonetheless. Yo, if that was me in that situation, I'm sorry I'm swinging. Like, I don't really want to say that, but if someone's doing that and is so against, like, my religion, and you said, you've obviously made it clear to him that you are a proud Muslim and it's very important to your religion, as your other housemates know and respect and just, you know, like, accept that that is a major part of you. He's just gone the other way. Why? What has he gained from doing it? That's what I don't get. Why are you going into a house just to annoy people? Makes no sense to me, but clearly he's that sort of character. Yeah, if that had happened to me at that point, wow. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I think I would have done something, because how can you hold your temper when that's going on? I mean, fair play to OP, you did, but obviously there was gonna be a tipping point at some point. I'm shocked it wasn't way earlier, but the Jays, man, I guess you were right with the moral of the Jays. The Jays were always gonna be the last point, the point that, you know, you had to go over the edge there, but yeah. Getting Jay's muddy? Nah, it's not on, is it? It's really not on. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really enjoyed that last story. Let me know if you did as well down below in the comments. If you want to see a story similar to that one, check this out. You'll love it. Trust me. I picked it just for you right now to watch. It's one of my best ever videos. So click it, go and watch it, drop a like and say that Redditor sent you, because that'll make sense. Nice. Bye.